positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a three-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Okay, hello, welcome to Pod Damn America. I'm Jake. I'm back. We are so back. I'm wearing my Gengar pajamas today. For those on YouTube, I'm awake. I was deeply asleep 5 minutes before we started, which is the case. You know, as a performer, this just happens. You ever be on stage doing stand up? You're like, I was asleep an hour ago. This is so weird. Doesn't matter. Don't answer that yet. Hello, I'm Jake. This is Pod Damn America, and that's Anders J. Lee.
Well, Anders J. Lee here. What were you saying?
You were a pig just now?
I was just snoring. I was trying to imitate a guy waking up. I guess you don't snore as you're waking up. It's more of a. So what I hate in movies when people are just woke up and they clearly have not. They clearly do not look like they just woke up. They look like they have the fucking. They look like they're on. I was trying to be realistic, but I went to the extreme.
You went huge with it, as they'd say in acting. You went big.
Yeah.
Overdid it, like Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm waking up. I just watched that.
Look at these bags.
That movie's like, it's so good, but he's, in terms of acting, like that thing of like bring it up here, bring it down. He's through the roof. That's the most overacting role like ever.
I do think guys were like that back then, though. At the period that There Will Be Blood takes place, guys actually talked like that, and they were over the top and crazy. They didn't have phones to look at all day. They were just eccentric and weird.
That's a really, I'm gonna go out and do a hot take here. That's a great movie, all right, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, who says it's a bad movie?
I just realized how obvious of a statement that was as I was making it. Like, you know what? You guys tune in for my hot takes. I'm going to tell you something. There Will Be Blood. Great movie. All right.
From not enough blood. Actually,
true.
I do remember that. I liked it. I loved it when I saw it, but I was like 16, so I do remember the back of my head being like, kind of hoping for a little more blood just based on the title.
Like Naked Lunch. Yeah, this is not misleading, but something really interesting about that movie. And I kind of figured this out because we talked about one battle after the other, and I was like talking about how I'm trying to figure out Paul Thomas Anderson. I think I figured out a little bit about him and about how he lets these actors kind of do their thing in their movies. Something really interesting going on in, well, I guess this is the acting, but it's also the writing. That character, right? When he speaks, he only speaks grammatically in certain ways that have an effect on like the person you're talking to if you talk like that. So the line everyone knows is, if I told you if I told you I was an oil man, you would agree, right? That is like, it's supposed to embody like that like capitalism, right? Like these early like Gilded Age sort of unfettered just he represents like, that wave of industry or whatever. So when he says that line, it's weird because he should just be saying, I am an oil man, right? That's the basic line. But he's
oil man.
But he says, if I told you I was an oil man, you would agree. So it puts you like on your back foot, like mentally, where you're like, would I suppose I would. Like, I'm going with you, and you're like telling me what to do and telling me how to do. So he's using like there's like grammar. Like there's this interesting stuff of like framing the way everything like existence, framing everything that's happening. That's almost like, fucking like shit that people would do back then when they would do like snake oil sales and stuff, and have like a person in the audience be like, I heard it's really good or whatever. Those people were like, were crafting the very like material basis of reality, the fabric of reality. That's the fucking term everyone uses, right? So they were doing stuff like that, and I think they nailed it. And I think it's interesting because I just read that apparently Quentin Tarantino has said multiple times that he thinks that movie would be the greatest movie ever, if not for Paul Dano. And it's really weird because Paul Dano also kicks ass in that movie. And
if not for Paul Dano?
Yeah, he said he ruins the movie.
Really?
Yeah. Clearly, though, like that's something's going on with Tarantino where he doesn't like Paul Dano, because Paul Dano tears the fucking shit out of that movie. It's so good.
What a crazy quote. Why would he just go after Paul Dano? There's like an unspoken thing where you're not supposed to do that. I remember hearing a story about Paul Thomas Anderson where someone was at a party with him and they're just like, yeah, this movie, that fucking sucked. And he was like, I don't do that. I don't say movies suck because I make movies and it's hard. Or actors, I presume. So that's insane that Tarantino just does not. I mean, there is something kind of cool about directors who just snipe at each other all the time, but this is a director going after an actor.
Tarantino, I'm going to assume, was on tons of cocaine. That seems like the vibe. He seems like the most on cocaine human imaginable. And like, have you heard that story about I think it was Fiona Apple said that she quit cocaine because she was doing it with him and who's the other person?
Paul Thomas Anderson, I believe.
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense. And they're arguing about Paul Dano, and she's like, "I gotta get the fuck out of here." All right. Well, now that we've discussed movies, let me tell you something that happened to me the other day. For parasocial listeners of the show that follow me and have been replying to me and telling, I'm listening. I hear you. I'm trying to make Why You Mad happen again. If you're a Why You Mad head, listen, I hung out with Louisa. It was cool. She's in LA. Me, her, and Gabe, and our friend Steve and his wife. We all hung out. And we were in DTLA a few nights ago, and I rode my bike down there. DTLA is a very sketchy place. It's the downtown that never was, kind of. There are complex reasons why downtown LA is just a little sketchier than other downtowns. It's really interesting. They're in all the Mike Davis books. But something really cool happened to me, which is that if you follow me in my career, you know that periodically people try to steal my bicycle. Well, it happened again. I had locked my bike up to a very thick pole outside of a bar we were hanging out at the other night, and I was inside drinking, and then I came out to smoke a cigarette. And as I was smoking, the security guy went, "Hey, that guy's trying to steal your bike." And I was like, "Thanks." And I came up on this dude, fitted baseball cap, flannel shirt, really skinny, the type of goatee that's just the little like flavor saver thing and the mustache, like the devil has. And
was the devil stealing your bike?
No, just a guy. Yeah. And he was like, he had a bag of tools, and he was like going to try to snap my chain, I think, which I don't know if he even could have done. It's a very thick chain, but he was like hunched over my bike, and I just kind of thought real quick, and so I pulled my phone out and I started filming him, and I went, "Hey!" and I screamed at him to scare him. And he was like, he jumped back, and he was like, "I didn't touch your bike yet." And I was like, "Yeah, yet." And I was like, "All right, man, fuck off, get out of here." And then he like kind of got in my face and was like, "What are you doing, man? Why are you filming me, man? Are you racially profiling me, dude? Because I'm Mexican?"
Okay, because I was about to awkwardly ask, what was he?
He went, "Are you racially profiling me because I'm Mexican?" And I went, "I'm Mexican." And he went, "Not fuck you." What did he say? He was like, he went like fake Mexican or something, because I was catching him stealing my bike. And I was like,
he's really winning you over here.
I was fucking laughing at him. I went like, "Listen, man, I don't care. I'm not going to call the cops on you. This is just in case you like stab me or some shit. just fuck off, just get out of here. You lost, you didn't get the bike. And I'm pretty sure he was tweaking, man. He had very meth energy. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because something incredible happened. This is not that remarkable story up until this point. What happened is a new tweaker thing I have never encountered in my life at age 38 happened to me the other night, which is that this dude, while he was like trying to physically intimidate me, what does a guy do when they want to start a fight with you, or they don't want to start a fight, honestly, is they sort of square their shoulders, right? They put themselves forward, they puff their chest, and they do a lot of like leaning their face forward, like even like his face touched me at one point. It touched my face. It was really weird. And it's like, he's trying to get me to throw a punch so he can throw a punch. Tale as old as time. Well, that wasn't working. He revealed, this is so interesting. He revealed that he was carrying with him an entire pair of jeans, not the ones on his legs, another pair of jeans, because he was wearing jeans on his legs too.
What?
He had a pair of jeans draped around him somehow. I don't know. And he took them and he took a step back and he gave it like a, like you're a bullfighter, right? At me. And he started flapping his jeans at me.
No.
Yeah.
What?
It was so funny, man. Like, I'm not even mad at him. I got a really good video of it. I didn't want to post it.
You got a video?
Yeah, I'll post it. I don't want to get him in trouble. Maybe I'll like blur out his face. I mean, it's not like he's gonna get arrested or whatever. I think he lived on fucking the street. But he flapped his jeans at me, and it was like, honestly,
you flap your jeans at me, sir.
You
your plain view move.
You flap your jeans at me. Bastard with jeans. Bastard with some jinkos. Yeah. And I don't know. I figured I'd report at the world that there are new innovations happening in the meth sector out there, and they're impressive. 2025 is going to be a huge year. 2026 is going to be a huge year in fighting people on the street for drug money. Flapped his jeans at me, man. It was cool. I've never seen anything like it. The West Coast is crazy.
Man, congratulations on not being out a bike. That would have sucked. You got it. So the bike was unscathed.
Yeah, I got it. And I just took it inside.
Okay, nice.
I fell off of it on the way out. I was leaving triumphantly, like after that, like a couple hours later though, after drinking, and everyone was like, "Hey, that's that guy almost got his bike stolen." I was like, "Ah!" And then I got on my bike and I fell over, smashed myself on the concrete, and I was like, "It's okay, folks. I'll make it home fine." If I told you I was a bicycle man, you would agree. Everyone believed me.
Biking. You can do that in LA, apparently. Okay, that's
no. Well, yeah. The thing is, you can't, and that's part of it. And people were like, "Why did you do this?" Like, of course this happened. No one does this here. And I was like, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense."
Damn,
it can be done though.
It can be done. Biking in LA, driving in New York. I've had to do this week. I've been moving. And I'm now a Queens resident. Depending on who's asking, I still have to. I may not file taxes here or vote here, but practically speaking, I am staying in Queens, Ridgewood, to be exact. And I've been moving over the past week. This is the easiest move I've ever had to do. Knock on wood. Still not totally done in terms of unpacking, but literally and emotionally. But it's the most Scandinavian
move. If I told
move.
You I had a girlfriend, you would agree.
If I said it confidently enough, maybe I could get someone to think that. But this is the most Scandinavian move I've ever executed because I didn't have to ask anybody for help, which is great. I just moved boxes over the course of a week. And I even decided to go on an excursion last weekend. Instead of packing boxes, which I should have been doing, I went to Jersey City to meet up with my pal Glebe, and we went door knocking for Joel Brooks, who we've had on the show, and Glebe. I don't know if I want to give his full name because he has a great, very full, thick Russian name. But he and I grew up right across from each other. We would talk to each other at night through our windows, like Romeo and Juliet or something. That makes it sound. This is making the story sound a little more Stevie than it actually is. But one of my good friends from the old neighborhood.
Glebe.
Yeah, his name is Glebe. He's Russian. My name is Anders. I'm Norwegian. Not from there, but like him. But we turned out both to become socialists one day. A Norwegian and a Russian, interestingly, from this little neighborhood in South Arlington.
Makes sense.
But anyway, we were canvassing for Joel, who we've had on the show, along with Jake Efros. Joel Brooks, Jake Efros, they ran in tandem with one another. Our friend Michelle managed both campaigns, which sounds really hard, but she managed to manage that. And pleased to announce they both won. And not only did they both win, but the entire J slate in the J town, Jersey City, has proved victorious against the Hudson County machine, which kind of lobbed a really pathetic attempt at taking back the city for developers, or retaining control in the form of Jim McGreevey, who we talked about when they were on the gay American governor, the guy who came out in 2004 and was a big story. And later, I didn't even know this at the time, but he was, the real scandal that he was kind of covering for was his boyfriend. He got a sweetheart deal for. Excuse me. But this was a really interesting election because the guy McGreevey was running against, and this is a runoff. Jersey City has a runoff system, nonpartisan offices, which is great. So they are not Democrats, and also they have a runoff system. So if you don't break 50%, you go to a runoff. And it looked like maybe this is going to be close in both of their cases, but they both won these council seats. And then McGreevey's opponent in the runoff was this guy, James Solomon, who's a progressive city council member who was running on a Zoran-like campaign, and frankly, kind of seemed to go further than Zoran. This is a guy he's like a progressive. He's not a DSA member, but he is running. He just won on the basis of new apartments being capped at $1,000 a month. Which
wow, god damn.
Yeah, I mean it shouldn't be like that. Shouldn't be that radical. But in this day and age, it is. And the rebuttal against him, it's funny because you mentioned downtown Los Angeles, and McGreevey, his knock on James Solomon and his whole slate of progressives, who it seems may have swept this thing. His knock against them was that they're the downtown crowd. They're this classic.
That sounds cool.
It does sound cool. Maybe that helped them, but it's also this strange. But up until now, the past year to a few months, very effective line that the people running against gentrification are actually benefiting from it. If you don't take money from developers and are running an anti-developer campaign, you're actually pushing the other people out who are long-term residents and are low to middle income. And that's what McGreevey ran on, and he lost, along with the classic, how are you going to pay for it? You want to defund the police, all that stuff. Yeah. It didn't work. Solomon won, and I think this is a really clear example of what I see looking at urban politics in America, and in general, is the decline of home ownership politics. Because Jake's opponent, Miss Healy, whose dad was the guy who was drunk on his porch and blamed Latinas for getting him naked on it. Remember we had this story of this old Jersey City
Vaguely.
hand. He got drunk and was, I think, naked on his porch, and he blamed it on Latinas.
Well, they intimidated him, and he understood in our culture you must flap your pants at someone if they challenge you to a duel. So he took off the pants, said, "Do you flap your pants at me? Do you flap your pants at me, madam?"
Yeah, that must have been what happened, or pantalones. But she heard her opposite. She straight up said, his daughter, was running against Jake, said that the renter community is dangerous. That's what she said. The renter community, which is like 70% of Jersey City, are people who rent, and it's worked for this long. That type of rhetoric, maybe not as blatant, but it's worked for so long because people either have owned homes more in the past. People owned homes way more common, and then also people who didn't own homes thought renting was temporary and that they were on their way to owning a home. And in many cases, they did get homes. And now that dog won't hunt because most people in America, I don't know the statistics actually, but there's a lot of people in America who I think, particularly of our generation and younger, who just I don't anticipate owning a home. I don't think most of us do. So
it's like it's not just like if you take a snapshot, it's like a trend. Like,
yeah,
very much things are moving away from people expecting to own a home and having future plans for that sort of stuff. That's going away. Yeah.
Right. And that's the big part of the reason Cuomo lost. It was amazing to watch him after the primary. He's gearing up. He's trying to, correct all the mistakes. And he's talking about, in an interview, he's saying that, and he's, walking through his old neighborhood in Queens, not dissimilar from where my mom grew up in a co-op apartment, and not for all that dissimilar from where me and Glebe grew up, which is a bunch of row houses and condominiums. But this type of area where he's saying, like, this is a community because people own homes, and you are committed if you own a home. And he's saying this in New York City, where the vast majority of people do not own homes. They don't drive. They don't care that he drives a car, and they don't own the place they live in. And it's very obvious in places like New York City and Jersey City, but I think you're going to see this all throughout the country, where people in rural areas, rentership, unless I'm mistaken, has gone up. Less people can afford to buy homes, so that is not as salient of a sort of image and message to kind of wave the carrot of homeownership in front of people.
Yeah, man, there's so much of like this type of politics in America right now is really getting into like YIMBY-NIMBY arguments. It seems like everyone all over the country arguing in little political races and stuff like this is getting into these. I keep seeing people get into YIMBY arguments online because because of these types of conversations. And we did an episode about this last year about the homeowners Soviet in the city of Quartz. And about like the kind of birth of YIMBY-NIMBY politics being that the NIMBYs were the homeowners who didn't want anyone bringing those downtown people into the neighborhood. And the YIMBYs, also bad, are basically the developers who want to make cheap apartments that don't really help people. They help them sell a bunch of apartments to lower income bracket or whatever. And as that becomes more the thing, that's the YIMBY shit is more complicated. I think it's kind of because it gets confusing because it's easy for people to craft arguments that are like, well, I'm helping people by doing this or whatever. And you got to go, who's really speaking here? Rip the bag off the person's head. Oh, it's a fucking developer. This is a politician speaking on behalf of a developer, not like not someone who says they want to help people or whatever. So like something to keep an eye out for. But as hopefully this becomes a new wave of things like regulating the housing market. $1,000 a month. You're right. That shouldn't be something that is that exciting, and it is because we live in a sad world. But I'm just gonna say I'm still not moving to Jersey City. When I first moved to New York, there were a lot of like old people in my life that were like, "Why don't you live in Jersey City? It's affordable." And I was like, "Fuck you! I moved to Brooklyn to live in a garbage can. It'd be right next to everything." But maybe when I'm older, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a nice town. I enjoyed hanging out there. But yeah, $1 million was raised by McGreevy, Mr. Gay American, from developers, and Solomon pointed that out in debate after debate after debate, and that really, I think, was effective. Because yeah, I talked to middle class people and lower income people, and they're all like, "This place is getting too expensive. Because Joel was running. Well, I think by the runoff, both of them were running on a slate with Solomon, and that definitely helped having this kind of team, this slate running together, and we'll see what they can do. It'll be interesting to watch as we're trying to do similar things here in New York City, and as the United Kingdom has some political machinations on the left that are maybe not as hopeful as what's happening in the tri-state area. This is something we've been watching for a while, but there was this weekend a conference for your party. Did you hear you had a party? Did you know about this? It's called Your Party.
If I
The
told
worst
you at a party, you would agree.
the worst fucking name of all time
Yeah, it
is
sucks.
now it initially was supposed to be a temporary name, and people were making fun of it, and they're like, no, this is not the name. It is not. We know one thing. We don't know a lot, but we do know one thing. It will not be called Your Party. And lo and behold, that's the fucking name of this thing, which I at first I was very hopeful, and I say this obviously as an American who's watching UK politics, which at certain points it seemed like, oh wow, the left is way ahead of us. Not like the competition, but just in terms of inspiration. And then since 2019, that's always what I look to when I'm bummed out about the state of things here, is essentially, and I've said this before, but imagine if Bernie got the nomination in 2020 or 2016 and then lost to Trump. Like how devastating that would be. And not just lost, but just got like blown out. Although it is worth mentioning the actual raw vote numbers Corbyn got as the Labor Party got as with Corbyn as leader. That was higher than Starmer got in 2024. So that is obviously worth noting, but still devastating experience that has made things very difficult to pick up the pieces after that. But of course, sabotaged by the labor right, which he should have been more aggressive against in before the 2017 election. There's a good chance he would be prime minister, maybe right now. But labor is in shambles. So to put things in perspective, it's the opposition that this Your Party was founded to kind of combat.
Party.
Your Party, Jake's Party. That's the new name. Two Jakes. There's a co-leadership with Jake Efros and Jake Flores. But the Labor Party's in shambles right now. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, this guy is a joke. He is the laughingstock of Europe right now. He has no tangible values or permanent positions on anything. He's just they want to get him out, and possibly he'll be replaced by someone even worse, Wes Streeting. I don't think that's taken too seriously. But even the Labor Party, and his entire raison d'etre since becoming leader in 2020, Starmer, is to not be Jeremy Corbyn. That's just because like after 2019, they were relieved. The Blairites, the labor right, they were like, thank God we can take this thing back over they ran this leadership campaign where he just blatantly lied about he was going to keep Corbyn's policies but be a more electable version, and he abandoned all of them, and is just his entire focus has just been like anti-Corbyn, and that includes expelling him from the Parliamentary Labour Party and then from the Labour Party entirely, which massively backfired because Corbyn got elected as an independent in 2024, which was embarrassing for Starmer, and he also outperformed Starmer in terms of the raw votes. So this whole time he's kind of been adrift, and the only like consistent thing is just reassuring people that he is not Jeremy Corbyn. Well, it turns out that Jeremy Corbyn's policies were quite popular. They're just people didn't like him necessarily or didn't think they could execute them. So if you just took some of them and implemented them, it would be a very successful government. But they can't bring themselves to do that. They've pursued austerity policies. They've funded the genocide. So now labor, the labor right is like, what do we do? And the party base seems like they want a new leader. It could be this mayor of Manchester who would Andy Burnham, who would have to run for parliament. So that might be tricky to make that happen. But Labor's in shambles. The Conservatives got blown out in 2024. They've been delegitimized. But there is a force on the even further right, which is waiting in the wings of power essentially right now. And that this is the most realistic option for who will be in power whenever there is another general election, which we're not sure when that's going to happen, but at least by 2029. Reform UK, which is just an outright fascist party led by Nigel Farage.
And this is not my party.
This is not your party. This is Reform. And they just want to ramp up deportations even further. And they're poised to win because the Tories and Labour have both been delegitimized. So perfect moment for someone to fill the vacuum to the left of Labour. And who better to fill that void than Jezza, the absolute boy, Jeremy Corbyn, who in hindsight, it's tricky to say if that he was the best. He basically became Labour leader because there's this group of socialist MPs, members of parliament, who took turns running for the leadership, because after every British general election, each party has a leadership election, the losing parties anyway. And they had run a socialist every time. And some of them were, frankly, a lot more deft than Corbyn, John McDonnell, who went on to be his economic advisor. But he had run like 2 times already, and it's 2015. And so like, all right, who hasn't done this yet? Jeremy, are you going to do it? And he's like, okay, sure. And because it was the right moment, he surprised everybody, including himself, and became the Labour leader and almost became prime minister. But if it had been McDonnell, then it's tough though, because he also alienated a lot of people. McDonnell did, because he's much more brusque and isn't afraid to fight more with the Tories. And Corbyn's problem as leader, I think it's been established by now, he was too accommodating to people who wanted to knife him in the back. But he got elected in 2024. Perfect opportunity to start a new party then, but he wanted to take it slow, which is understandable. And he wanted to focus on building a party out of a group of independents who he was elected on I don't know if I'd call it a slate, but sort of a loose formation with. And these were all other independents who were against austerity, broadly speaking, but were focused primarily on the Gaza genocide. And these are Muslims, many of whom are also landlords. So it's not quite the same politics, but Corbyn was a member of the Labor Party for a long time and believes in sort of a popular front, so to speak, and has been working with these guys and kind of coordinating with them in Parliament, as well as the Green Party MPs, who I'll talk about more in a minute. But so they have this sort of formation. It would make sense to start a party of that out of that. Corbyn does say in an interview that inevitably this will lead to a party, but we got to take it slow and be really methodical. And I think it's fair to say he was too slow in plotting. Obviously, you do want to be careful about this and be deliberative, but time is of the essence. And he wasn't really acting very decisively. And so in steps Zara Sultana, who was a Corbynista. She was elected in 2019 to Parliament. She's a millennial, and she decides to. She had been talking with Corbyn behind the scenes, and he kept saying like, "Well, it's not the right time yet. We need to do X, Y, and Z first." And she's like, "We got to get this moving. Let's do it." And then so she in July, I'm sure people remember, she launched this party. And people asked Corbyn, "Is this true? Are you starting a party with Zara Sultana?" And he's like, "Yes, but I'm mad that it's happening. I don't actually approve, but I was going to do this at some point, so fine. I'm going to start a new socialist party with Zara Sultana." And immediately he starts leaking, maybe not Corbyn himself, but his team, his inner circle starts leaking to the Murdoch press, which is not a good sign, not a good way to start things. But they tell them that, and they tell the public that Sultana didn't consult Corbyn first, and she did this unilaterally, and Corbyn's wife is very mad about it, and it's this kind of a betrayal. So already things are off to a rocky start. With that said, there are 800,000 people who have expressed interest, which is going beyond expectations because Corbyn is a known quantity. People love him on the left in the UK. Not all of them, obviously, as we'll explore more, and especially not now. In December of 25. But at this point, people miss his leadership, right? Because another terrible thing that Starmer has done is completely gutted the Labour Party. Because when Corbyn was leader, it was the largest political party in Europe. And that meant membership means in a traditional European political party or just anywhere in the world that's not the United States. Typically, to be a member, you have to like pay dues, and they're like disciplinary standards you have to meet, and all this stuff. And he had just a mass membership, and that gave the party way more money and allowed them to pursue organizing that wasn't just electoral. So they were like actually starting membership clubs and food banks and all this stuff because of the way he organized the party. And that's all gone now. Starmer completely gutted it. All these people left. It's, I believe, in debt. So people want something like that, and they're very excited that about the possibility that it's going to start. But it is fraught with infighting from the beginning. Corbyn starts coordinating with these other independent MPs, and not Zara Sultana. She decides to tweet about this, which I was, it's one thing to leak to the press. It's another to just say to everybody from your own Twitter account, like, I'm this party that hasn't even started yet is a mess. I'm being excluded. I denounce it. Like, what the fuck is going on? That was very demoralizing to a lot of people, including myself. I saw that. I remember feeling like really bad that this thing doesn't seem like it's going to work. And she also introduced a resolution that would ban landlords from being MPs, members of parliament. So She is not a fan of this group of independents who Corbyn is aligned with, who he, to be fair, is not totally on the same page with politically, but he just thinks like, this is who we have to work with.
That sounds like that would be a good rule, except for the specific case that there are a bunch of landlords that happen to be in every other way on the same page as Corbyn.
Yeah, well, they're definitely on the same page on foreign policy. They are broadly speaking on economics. However, they are not socialists. And one of them recently said this weekend, he was like, why would anybody want to sign up for a party that's talking about Marxism? And they also, crucially, are by and large, I don't want to generalize too much, but many of them are transphobic. Which
wonderful,
yeah. which Corbyn, to his credit, is not. He's a believer in trans rights, which even in America, like it's not as it seems like it's not as intense here as it is in Britain. But obviously,
they have a special level of transphobia over there for some reason. We're all aware.
Yes. But which is why it's important to like set a expectation that we're not going to tolerate that, as the Green Party has.
Right.
But is that worth? Does that mean we expel people, or do we just like have this? This is what the party platform is. These are all difficult questions to work through, which leads me to what happened this weekend, which was the membership conference. Where they had said from the beginning, we're going to have this conference in November, and that's where all these difficult questions are going to be decided. And they kind of punted on certain things to like, we'll handle that in November. But putting that off and having this slow rollout ended up being very messy because they needed money, right? They needed money to have the conference, and in order to get it, Sultana went ahead and set up a membership portal, and then Corbyn publicly was like, that this is an illegitimate membership portal. We did not approve this membership portal. We're going to file a complaint with this governmental bureaucracy. And then Sultana was talking about suing Corbyn. And this is in like the fall. So this is already a huge mess. And by the time that the conference starts, I should back up for a second. The portal that she launches early September, 20,000 people sign up and pay in one day. And then freaks out, and they eventually they return the money, and then there's another portal that gets started later in September, and a lot less people trickle in on day one. Ultimately, you do get 55,000 members, but the first one had 20,000 in one day. So definitely would have surpassed 50,000. And at this point, like, we're lucky, they're going to be lucky if they can do better than the Green Party in terms of membership, which was the main selling point for this new formation. Counterposing it with the Green Party is a big difference. Is the Green Party just didn't seem like it would have the numbers, right? The ceiling was going to be a lot lower than the Corbyn Party, and now that's quite dubious. So going into this convention that happened this weekend, this was an interesting decision. Is they decided to select delegates by sortition. So it was
what is
random.
Sortition?
So when a student starts at Hogwarts, all of them gather in the lunchroom and go through a hat, and it's random. It's lottery. So you don't know, people aren't elected, but it's also like, in a sense, kind of the truest democratic way to do things, although I think that's debatable. But but they don't have regional branches yet. So that's typically how an organization or a party like this would vote on the delegation, is through regional branches. So short of that, Corbyn thought this was the best way to do it. So he was kind of the one behind it, and he did have this kind of bit of a petty interview where he said there were all these left celebrities who were complaining to him that they didn't get selected by Sortition. But so it is a good mix of different people who have signed up for this, and on the way to the conference, though, more shit happens, because there are members of the SWP, the Socialist Workers Party, which before Corbyn, really that was kind of, I don't want to overstate it, but that was kind of like, if you were a socialist in Britain, that was kind of like the biggest party. I mean, there had been socialists in labor since the beginning, but other than that, especially after Blair, it was like, I guess let's join the SWP. But he kind of sucked a lot of them into labor, and to be in the Labor Party, you can't have dual membership, and that hadn't been established yet for your party. So they sign up, and some of them get selected to go to the conference. But someone on Corbyn's team, in his inner circle, says, well, this isn't good. We have SWP members who have signed up for your party, and they're coming to this conference. We gotta stop that, right? You can't be member of two different parties, because you're going to do entryism, and that's a long-standing thing on the British left and on the American left too. Is these like Trotskyist sects will enter a mass organization and try to. They don't necessarily have the best interests of the organization at heart. They're accountable to a separate sect, and so they kick all these people out, and they send them emails. Some of them are on the way to, I believe one of them was on a train with Jeremy Corbyn and started yelling at him about being having the credentials revoked to go to conference. So it's this mass expulsion that Zara Sultana decides to use as a reason to boycott the first day of the conference. So this is a person who's like one of the key figures in this new party and is boycotting. She's just not going in to the first day and telling the press this is why all of these people were kicked out. And Corbyn himself claims that he wasn't behind this, but it does seem like definitely someone on his side of things was. And this is another thing where it's like, this is a tricky issue. It's hard to say what the right call here is, but I can say that it seems like the way this was executed was like the worst possible way for it to go down. Because again, the SWP, they're a Trotskyist party. They have a very centralized sort of structure. Why should they, you can't enter the Socialist Workers Party and try to subvert them from within. Why are they allowed to do that to this other party? Shouldn't we have people who are loyal to this party? I think that's a valid argument. But if you don't have that decided from the jump, then it's pretty bad timing to decide it on the way to the conference. Like, that's just bad timing. And I also
could you not do entryism back to them?
What's that?
Could you not do entryism back to the SWP?
You could.
What if you just switch parties?
You could. You could. You can be a former SWP member who becomes your party member. But the thing that makes it so confusing is that one of the things that was decided on the first day of the conference was actually this policy that was imposed is wrong, and we are going to allow dual membership of people from other parties, which I understand the merit to that as well, because often people go in, and this has happened with certain sects that have joined DSA, is some of the members learn to sort of adjust their tactics and strategies, and they become better organizers, and sometimes they abandon some of the more sectarian politics. Um, but I could also, but ultimately I do think it's like not a great thing for people to just be in a bunch of different parties. If it does create the ability for chaos, for people to spread chaos and sort of undermine
You can't tell
the
which party is my party, which party is your party.
right. It's confusing enough as it is. Um,
Their
but
party.
my party. Um, but the membership decided democratically that we are going to allow people to do this. If the expulsions hadn't happened, though, maybe they wouldn't have made that choice. But because it was so rancorous, they looked at that and said, you know what, we don't want to tolerate this, and we don't want to be Labor 2.0, which was something that was said a lot this weekend. We don't want to be like the bureaucrats now at the head of the Labor Party, who are expelling socialists and Gaza organizers. We want to be an open democratic party, and so they allowed that, and they also voted, and this is, I guess, was a win for the Corbyn faction. Is their I didn't know what nobody knew what the name was going to be a few months ago, but again, we all assumed it was not going to be your party. The options that were presented to the membership were a lot less wide-reaching than I had thought they were going to be, because apparently the government in Britain said you can't be the left party just grammatically. That was that's what Sultana wanted to be originally, is just the left, and that didn't work, like, legally speaking. And then there were a couple other ones that just on the basis of like other parties pre-existing, or for whatever reason they were told you can't be all these different ideas. So the four that were approved were your party, our party, Popular Alliance, or For the Many. And out of
Popular
those,
Alliance. Come on.
see, I was
For
going
the
to say
many,
that
maybe.
I was going to say Popular Alliance is like the least worst out of those, but it's not a good name either.
No, that's what I was saying, is like pick that one, given
Oh,
the
right.
rest of those are insane.
Yeah, like our party is. So I'm going to vote for our party. I'm not in the. If somebody's not in the party, why would they vote for our party? For the many, like that is Corbyn's old tagline: "For the many, not the few." But
Many's all right.
it's okay. Yeah, our party is maybe equally bad as your party, but your party is so bad. It's just a terrible fucking name.
It's confusing. It's like a who's on first kind of thing.
Right. And watching, I've seen this several times when, so Zach Polanski, who I want to
We
make sure
hear
to talk
you,
about.
like that thing from Succession. We hear for you.
Right. It's so confusing. And when people now, Zach Polanski gets asked about the Greens, I've seen this happen in a few interviews. He's asked about, well, your party, and you can tell on his face, he's like, wait, are they asking me about my party or your party? You mean your party or your party? It's a mess. And Corbyn wanted that, which is, I think, unfortunate. But the other big decision that came about on the second day is collective leadership, which I'm not sure how I feel about this, but the two options presented were one leader, like most parties have in the UK, you elect a leader, or this collective leadership idea. There was not an option for what had been floated at the beginning of this, a co-leadership between Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, probably because they now hate each other's guts. So instead, they have this this new formation, which I tried to figure this out. It's not totally clear how this is going to work, but there's going to be an unclear number of members who will serve as the leaders, and they will be elected by the broader membership. So they will, in all likelihood, be like seasoned people. But I hope there's some kind of way in which they can get at least one or two of them to be kind of the face of your party, because otherwise it's just a mess. It's like, who are we talking to? There needs to be some kind of like structure there, some kind of avatar for the British public to identify with your party and see as the leader. And you just need that. I tend to think, but I would love to be proven wrong, because it is kind of cool in theory to have like a collective leadership. It does seem like the single leadership idea was Corbyn's, and I mean, he would say, like, he always said, like, well, if they want me to be the leader, I'll be the leader. But I'm not going to say I want that explicitly. This entire time, though, I was thinking, like, this is, there's never a good time to start from scratch, right, with a political project. But this seems like the type of thing that this is going to take a really long time, but this could grow into something really cool and transformational in like 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, whatever. The Labor Party initially took a really long time to actually become a party and then win and become the government. So for something like this to do that, it's probably going to take a really long time. And isn't there a little more urgency here? And if you think there's urgency, then it seems like the answer would kind of just to have it be a Corbyn party, like the Jeremy Corbyn party, and have him be the leader and do what he was doing with Labor, where, now he may have a lot more legitimacy in the eyes of the public, that you've had more time with conservatives in power who he ran against, and everything he said about them was true. They've disappointed the public. They've been driven out of office. And then the Labor Party, without him, has done the same thing. It seems like he would be poised to become prime minister. So I see that argument, but at the same time, that's easier said than done, because it's hard to just supplant a party from scratch. And also, that may, like, he, in all likelihood, was not the best guy to lead the Labor Party, right? He's not the best guy for the left to kind of coalesce around and become like the savior, because he, as many people have conceded at this point, was too accommodating to the labor right. With a different party and different structures, maybe that would be different. But it's it does seem like the effort to create a new broad-based party that is explicitly socialist and has community organizing like aspects to it, that is a very laudable project. I don't know how long it will take for that to grow into something. But the good news is, in the UK, you can form coalition governments, and the Greens are poised to do very well, relatively speaking. But the usual knock on them is again the low ceiling thing, because it's associated with environmentalism, and historically that's been kind of a niche issue, that's been a middle class issue, and the masses of the British public are not sympathetic to the Green Party. But that is changing, because their leader, Zach Polanski, is very focused on inequality, and he's running on like a green populist platform, and he's going out of his way to talk about economics and not just talk about the environmental stuff. And so that does seem to be effective and working. It's not clear how high of a ceiling they still are going to have, but if the alternative, if you're on the left, is this mess, then maybe that's the most realistic option and best option. But yeah, some of the key differences are on NATO. The Green Party wants to remain in NATO, diplomatic relations with Israel, and it's not clear exactly how socialist they are, which, should that matter in in an electoral sort of alliance? I think some people would say no, but if that this is something that came up this weekend, is Sultana was asked, and this really it made me have to think about this stuff more, is that Sultana was asked, what is your like key priority if you're able to form a government? What do you do? And typically someone in the situation, what's her version of Zoran's free buses and free childcare, and freezing the rent, and it seems like she would say something like nationalizing utilities or renationalizing rail, which are the key things Corbyn has promised when he's been in a similar position. And her response was nationalizing the entire economy.
That's pretty based.
It is. Yeah. It's like, that's really cool that she's saying that. And to be fair, she also did have a fairly thoughtful elaboration, which is that means cooperatives, right? It's not just state control. It's, we could have cooperatives and stuff. And this is what I've wanted, right? In theory, from a politician, is to say that and say, like, let's fucking do socialism. But is that do you really want to start with that as like your opening, argument from this new party that has like 2 MPs and that doesn't even fully exist yet? Like, that's like, the Labor Party was a socialist party up until Tony Blair took the collective ownership part out of the party constitution. But Corbyn believes that Socialists and the Labor Party believe that the economy should be democratic, right? But that's not like what the main thing that they're like selling to people, and it's, if Bernie Sanders, for instance, were saying we need to nationalize the entire economy instead of just we need to nationalize health insurance, I don't know that he would be galvanizing a movement of people, right? He might be more of a gadfly. Then again, maybe she's just like way ahead of her time, because some of these gambits, or that she's like really onto something and like knows the pulse and just is like, this is going to work, because clearly the British public are tired of politics as usual, and this is definitely unusual for a politician to promise that. But delivering it is a whole nother question, because even if you are able to form your party government, I guess you could pass a law that says the economy is nationalized now, but actually doing that takes like jailing landlords at a minimum.
Right. This is kind of reminding me of like what's going on with Zoran discourse right now, because, I don't know. We've had these conversations like a million times over at this point with Bernie and everything, but like the something that's happening right now is I'm thinking a lot about how there's this phenomenon where we just as millennials hate the Democrats and hate liberals so much that it turned a lot of us into socialists and communists and stuff like that. And so there's this kind of fallacy we fall into a little bit, I think, where anything they've ever implemented against us, we now hate, right? Mm-hmm. And so everyone is anti-id poll for a period of their life because it's been wielded cynically against us. Kind of have to wake up one day and go, wait. Identity is not a bad thing. It's just that the Democrats used it against us, right? It's actually meaningful to listen to people talk about their experiences. Incrementalism is a big one of these things where they've used incrementalism so cynically to try to push back against anyone in the left in America asking for anything by going, well, you have to do things step by step, little by little, that we then sort of make it part of our politics to go, we're against incrementalism, right? And the thing is, that's not a good conclusion, I don't think. I think that anything, things like, wins with like Zoran Mamdani and stuff like that show you that the answer is to go, no, we're actually doing incrementalism. The Democrats are not. They just say they are. And then they actually want things to stay the same or move backwards because they just sort of stagnate. Pushing in the way that someone like Zoran does is incrementalism, electoralism, DSA politics, all that shit. That's incrementalism, but it's good. It's good because it's actually accomplishing that or whatever. So you have this situation with Zoran right now where and I know we've talked about this like 3 times over, but honestly, I really I don't think about the stuff the same way you do. I'm glad we do this show because I learn about a lot of it through you, which is great. To have a friend who's wonky, and helps me get my head around this stuff. And I was watching people turn into ultras about this, not even ultras, just stupid internet fucking navel gazy people, and sort of get onto the you fell for Zoran thing or whatever. You fell for it again. He's not going to do any of these things. Look, he hired fucking Jessica Tisch, he kneecapped Chiasa, all this stuff. And so I was really kind of just trying to analyze this thing that I know I've asked you about on the show a couple of times. Why did he do that? Why did he keep Jessica Tisch? Why did he endorse essentially Hakeem Jeffries? And I went over all the stuff we talked about and I read about it and I went, oh no, it makes sense. So politically, I've got it down now. If I'm in a bar and you ask me about Zoran, I can explain it. It's the fucking a lot of the policies that he needs to enact can be vetoed by the state government. So he goes to the governor and she says, okay, I'll make a fucking deal with you. You do something for me, I'll do something for you. And so now he's put in a position. Everyone keeps saying he threw Chiasa under the bus, right? And it's no, he had a bus thrown at him and then was told you can block the bus with one of 2 things, right? And it's clearly if he didn't do a couple of things, he didn't compromise and fucking eat a bowl of shit for the governor, then what he's risking is not being able to fulfill the campaign promises that he made, which is the big stuff about him, the free buses and the free childcare and the tax stuff and the MTA. The MTA is run through the state government, the fucking the tax stuff. Hochul has to sign off on that. So if he wasn't in the position he's in now, of everyone being mad at him about these weird endorsements and stuff, we would be in a much worse position, which is everyone to be mad at him about him not fulfilling his socialist campaign promises. And that would be a way worse outcome for a socialist, historic electoral victory. It's for him not to go 100% to try to make the buses free and do the tax program and stuff like that. And big picture here, I guess what I'm getting at is incrementalism. You fucking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's what just happened. And that's the only way to get some of this stuff through. If he had run on nationalize the entire fucking economy, guess what? He'd be in a position right now where he can't fucking do that. And then it would be seen as a fucking failure and this big narrative defeat of socialism, which is why I guess I would say, that's probably why most people don't do that. This Sultana person is doing it in your party. But maybe she does it. I don't know. It just seems like it's setting yourself up to be hey, you dumb socialists, you're utopians, and your thing didn't work.
Right. 2 things. I mean, what you said about incrementalism, I think it kind of became popularized, that term, at the end of the Obama administration when they're trying to justify the past 8 years where there was incrementalism. All of the problems Obama ran on solving got incrementally worse over those 8 years. Climate change, income inequality, the surveillance state, police brutality, you name it. And their response was, well, but you're not seeing like the little, micro level, like the increments where it's actually getting better, which was a lie, right? It didn't like that. They got worse, right? The increments went in the different direction. So true incrementalism has never actually been tried in a sense here.
The Democrats always sound like alcoholics to me. Like they're like bullshitting you, like reasoning is like, it's gonna happen, man. Fucking chill out. You're not seeing the times I'm not drinking.
I remember, his first term, that's what everybody said about the second term. Is like, just you wait. Once he gets reelected, oh boy, he's gonna nationalize the economy. But on the point, so I think there's this concept in Trotskyism of the minimum program and the maximum program. And the maximum program, I frankly would go beyond this as my maximum program, but the maximum program I think totally makes sense to be nationalizing the commanding heights of the economy, which is what Bukharin talked about, is having the state having it democratically controlled, but you don't have to do that in the Soviet model or the Stalinist model. You can have cooperatives, which is what Sultana said to her credit. She was like, yeah, we nationalize the economy. And so she was asked, like, okay, what about that kiosk over there? And she's like, well, it could be a cooperative, but it's part of this cohesive, like fully democratic economy, which is that's a great idea, but that's your maximum program. Your minimum program should be what you say you're going to do day one when you're in government, which ought to be to get relief out to people as quickly as possible, which is what Miliband wrote about, Ralph Miliband, is that once a socialist government gets in power, your main priority needs to be generating support by just making people's lives better. And it's going to look like liberalism and incrementalism, but to do other things and withstand the slings and arrows from the capitalist class, you need that popular support. And the only way to get it is just by making people's lives tangibly better.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we will see what happens in the UK, but this was the founding conference. It's not too late to change the name, I think. I mean, if they really want to, I feel like they could. They decided it not by ranked choice. Interesting. It was done by first past the post voting on the name. So I feel like that should be remedied. But it does appear that there are at least two of the Independent Alliance MPs who are part of your party, but the others have left. They've just been like, I don't want to be in this thing. But we'll see how it goes. I'm not thrilled about it, but I am thrilled. But there's a lot to be hopeful about in the UK Green Party with Zach Polanski, who is running a very focused sort of party so far. And here in the United States, we're going to have two cities right next to each other that are going to be trying to do similar things. And Jersey City, honestly, is might be beating us because their city council now looks like it's going to be overwhelmingly progressive. And we have in New York, we're going to have a conservative or moderate, I would say conservative, Speaker of the House who got the support of Vicky Palladino, who was said that Zoran should be deported. So that's who we're going to have to, that's going to be a major roadblock to his municipal legislation, which we're already in NYCDSA. People are already talking about organizing against, is because she secured these votes just in private. And, it was announced, well, I have the votes to become Speaker of the House. This hasn't even, they haven't even been sworn in yet. So we have the ability to say, not so fast. We're going to hold these council members accountable who are, kind of people who supported Zoran in some cases and are now backing this right wing speaker that this is a fight. This is going to be a fight, and it's going to be interesting to see actually taking the movement to City Hall and confronting the political class with this like army of volunteers and supporters in a way that we haven't seen in America in a long time. And they still do some stuff like that in Britain and other places, but I definitely think it's good to watch different parts of the world, different lefts around the world, and see what they're doing, and try to feed off of each other and learn from each other, because it's at the end of the day one big struggle.
We should go collectively and do the pants flapping thing all at that in mass. That would be really intimidating. Like an ocean of denim fucking rolling at you.
Everybody taking off their pants, like Homer in the Day the Laughter Died. You know what I'm talking about? You got the reference?
Yeah. Don't you hate pants? Yeah.
Should we explain that reference or just let people
figure it out. Google it.
Yeah.
It'll be more fun that
Great
way.
episode.
It's one of the greatest episodes of television comedy ever. Just go watch it.
Yeah. It's about like everything we talk about on the show almost.
It's like, it's there was a Simpsons podcast years ago. They'd have people come on and talk about their favorite episode. And I did it, and I talked about they kind of picked it for me. I did the one where they go to New York, but that was my second. That was my real choice. Is like that if there's like an episode that defines me, I'm like the one where Krusty becomes Bill Hicks is like so good.
Yeah,
lighting dollar bills on fire and shit. Canyoneero's in that episode. Yeah. Oh my god. God damn. Is it time for a Simpsons rewatch? Maybe.
We could just do an episode on that episode.
I mean, real talk. Next time I don't feel like working. Next time you want to do a fun one. Honestly, like there is so much we could. Honestly, no, we could.
Rich text.
I have withdrawals from like talking about comedy shit. Not withdrawals. I need to talk about comedy shit because Why You Mad's not happening. So like I don't have an outlet for. There's plenty to discuss in that episode about what's happening now with the way people conceive of comedy and Austin and shit. You know what? Get at us in the fucking Discord. You want to hear us talk about that episode of The Simpsons for a bonus episode? Because we'll fucking do it.
Hell yeah.
All right. I think that's a good episode. Anything to plug? Anything like that?
Paid protest on Friday, December 5th at Silo. We are raising money for the DSA membership committee, NYC DSA membership committee, which is very germane to what I was just discussing. So come on out to that. We got some great comics on the lineup, including my friend Sabine Siddiq and Chloe Kuna. We also have Taylor Rogers, Wyatt Figurato. So coming out to that 7th, doors at 7, show at 7:30. We'll put a ticket link in the description.
Okay, I have a show this month and I can't remember when it is, but I'm talking because I'm looking up the message when they told me, well, nope, I don't remember when the hell it is. I'll plug it online and whatever. If you're in LA, come out and see me. That's it. Sign up for the Patreon, support the show, hang out with us in the Discord, listen to bonus episodes. Boom. That's it. It's finished.